Now, everybody thinks that you're going to come fifth on Tuesday. You'll be the first to be knocked out. So why are you standing?
Well, we'll see what the result is, and if you remember back to 2005, they were all wrong then. But let's leave that aside on the arithmetic. The reason that I'm in this race is because I think we need to take the argument on now from the referendum to how we actually take Britain out of the European Union, but we also have to look at a whole range of other issues. We're not in this leadership race electing a leader of the opposition, which is what we've always done before. Someone doesn't have 4 years to play themselves in. And the day after this election, someone's going to get a call from Mr. Putin, and they're going to have to make an assessment on our nuclear deterrence. It's a lot more than just a rerun of the European arguments, and I think we have to get this into perspective. It's not a parlour game we're playing here. It's not an extension of the European Union. This is about the head of government having to take serious decisions in a dangerous world.
Let me come on to a bit of that in a minute, but ask you first of all, how many Tory MPs are backing you?
Well, I'm not saying because, and I didn't say last time either, because it only helps everybody else. And tactically it makes sense to keep your powder dry till after that first.
In double figures yet?
Oh, yes, well.
Well, but still fifth.
Well, I don't know what the other numbers are going to be. This is rather different, I think, from the previous campaign that I stood in, because in that one, by this point, 2 days from the first poll, most people had committed. There are a very large number of uncommitted people in this particular race, and I think, therefore, the most important event is going to be the party hustings tomorrow night.
There are three levers running. What do you bring to the contest that Andrea Leadsom and Michael Gove don't?
Well, I've been in the Foreign Office. I understand a bit how that European mechanics actually operates, and I think that we're now seeing quite clearly something of the road ahead. People have been saying, what will we do? How do you set the ground rules before you trigger Article 50? I think what we've seen this week is a differentiation between the position of the Commission, which is hardline and ideological, and a rather softer approach from our elected colleagues across the European Union. For example, on Newsnight the other night, the European Trade Commissioner said that we couldn't possibly have any negotiations on trade with Britain until we were outside the EU. And she was asked, wouldn't that be detrimental to every single economy on Europe? And she said, yes, it would be. Now, that's a crazy position to have, and it tells you how stupid the approach of the Commission is. So what do? We have to talk to our German and French colleagues in particular, who've got elections next year. And we have to say to them, let's start talking about what would be in our mutual interests. And
this is before you trigger Article 50?
Yes, of course it is. And you start to say to them, what sort of flexibility do you think we have? What can we do in our mutual interest? Because you've got elections next year. And you want to be able to sell to the German people and the French people a picture of how you can maintain their prosperity.
At the moment, they're saying they won't talk to us, not even informal talks. It is certainly true that Mrs. Merkel is sounding a bit more friendly than the Commission or even President Hollande. But at the moment, it is no formal talks. So you must expect that position to change.
I do expect it to change, and I think that when we have a new Prime Minister in place, it's for us to say, we are clearly going to implement the view of the British people. I don't personally think you can have a deal that includes anything to do with free movement. I think that was rejected by the public. But then we have to say to our European partners, this is what we're going to do, this is a position we're going to have. How can we do that in a way that doesn't cause you greater inconvenience than is necessary?
Well, it'll have to be a trade-off, will it not? It'll be a trade-off between an element of free movement, but less than we have at the moment, and a certain access to the single market, but less than we have at the moment. Isn't that right?
Well, whether you have, for example, quotas or in terms of job visas that you're going to give, that's something. But what we cannot have...
But let's just get that. If we had quotas for Europeans coming here, they undoubtedly will have quotas for us going there, won't they?
Well, it will have to be reciprocal.
Okay.
And
right.
This is
so we need a quota to go to France or Germany.
It's one of the things we have to understand. If we introduce restrictions on work permits, and in other words, settlement and work will be restricted but not travel, then we would have to expect there to be reciprocal moves in the other direction. I think it would be unreasonable to expect anything else.
Is it true that if Theresa May had promised to make you her Foreign Secretary, you wouldn't be running?
I wouldn't have accepted any promise. I think that anybody who makes you a promise in a race like this doesn't deserve to get to the top. And the reason for that is that the Prime...
But was it a matter for discussion?
No, it's not been a matter for discussion.
Between your people and her people? Or?
No. I actually had discussions with Stephen Crabb. I've spoken to, obviously, Andrew's a friend of mine, and I've spoken to Theresa. But I would neither make nor accept any offer, because the point I was coming to was that any Prime Minister must keep themselves free from promises to bring in the cabinet that they require. And let's face it, with a very small parliamentary majority and a very big split in the party ideologically over what happened in the European Union, whoever wins is going to have to make a lot of compromises across a lot of the party if we're to have an effective government.
What's the more important quality for the next Prime Minister, to have been a Brexiteer or to have experience?
I think that they're both important in their own ways. To be a,
Which is the more important?
I think that in terms of foreign and security affairs, I think experience matters. And as I said, we're not electing the leader of the opposition. We are electing a prime minister. So you can't play yourself in. It's not something you can just learn.
So a Remainer would be possible in you. It doesn't have to be a Brexiteer?
I think it's preferable to be a Brexiteer rather than a Remainer. The point you make is a very valid one. I think it's possible to be a Remainer. But I think I have to view it in this way, that I think the honest critique of this is that how do our European partners see it? If you were on the other side negotiating with Britain, would you be more likely to take seriously someone who had campaigned to leave the European Union or someone who chose to remain in the European Union? And I think that's the dynamic.
If you drop out, if you are out after Tuesday, who will you back?
Well, naturally, Andrew, you don't even expect me to answer a hypothetical question like that.
I do.
Well, of course you do.
Every question's been hypothetical on the basis of you being the next Prime Minister.
Hope springs eternal, but I think that I look at all the candidates, and all the candidates have their strengths. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses in that.
So which one?
And if that were to happen, and I'm not expecting it to happen on Tuesday, then I would come to a decision sometime after that, and I'll make that known in the usual way.
You don't know yet?
If I know, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, that's clear. If Theresa May does emerge, or if someone else, but at the moment she's clearly the front runner, if they were to emerge from the parliamentary contest with a clear majority, overall majority among MPs, and polls suggesting a clear majority among the party faithful in the country, should it still go to the country?
Under our rules, it should still go to the country. And I think the parliamentary party, the Conservative Party in the country, would expect there to be a contest. I think that might differ. If were there to be a huge and overall majority in Parliament for any one candidate, I think that members of Parliament would say, well, what would happen then if the parliamentary party had a different view from the party in the country? What would that mean for the authority of the Prime Minister? We would have to weigh that up. It is a hypothetical, but it is an important question we'll have to think about in the next 12 days.
Very well. A lot to happen in the next 12 days, because not much has happened in the past 12 days.
It's been a very quiet week, in politics. We're hoping something might happen this week.
We keep our fingers crossed. Liam Fox, thank you.